Welcome back to Patrick Christie's Tonight, and it's time now for a debate that has ignited a lot of reaction online, the head-to-head. So, a Tory councillor's wife has been jailed for 2.5 years for inciting racial violence online during the recent riots that swept Britain. Lucy Connolly, the wife of West Northamptonshire Conservative councillor Raymond Connolly, was sentenced to 31 months in prison at Birmingham Crown Court yesterday. She posted the following on Twitter during the summer protest. She said, "Mass deportations now, set fire to all the effing hotels full of the bees for all I care. And bees, I've obviously paraphrased, by the way, for anyone listening on radio. While you're at it, take the treacherous government and politicians with them." So yeah, strong. Nearly 1,300 people were arrested for their part in the widespread disorder, with nearly 800 being charged, according to NPCC figures for September. Some, like 27-year-old Thomas Burley, received a sentence of 9 years. Remarkable, isn't it? He was convicted of adding fuel to a bin fire outside a migrant hotel and throwing objects at police. Tonight I'm asking, after a Tory councillor's wife is jailed for 2.5 years for inciting racial hatred, is this a fair sentence? Let me know your thoughts. Go to gbnews.com/yoursay. You can get onto us on Twitter @GBnews. But first, going head-to-head on this are the former police officer Harry Tanguy and Labour Party activist Aisha Ali Khan. Thank you very much, both of you. Harry, I understand here that you're actually quite angry at the length of sentence for this woman.
Yeah, I mean, I've just pounding the streets or driving cars around the streets for 30 years. I've got a good measure of what I thought was justice for real people, you know, and sometimes you didn't get the result you wanted, but this feels wrong. And there's lots of former cops who are saying, I'm glad I'm not part of this anymore. This is really scary. I mean, the judge said this is a category A because there was an intent to incite serious violence. But if you look at that message, it's quite vague. And what is, you know, you say, yeah, burn down, but it's not a specific hotel. It's not this. And by the way, bring in the politicians with it as well. This is looking at it. What's her ability? Well, she's a mother of a 12-year-old daughter, housewife, no previous convictions. So really this should have stopped at CPS in my view, because once it's got to the judge and she's pleaded guilty because she doesn't feel, and her counsel probably don't feel, that it's just too risky. You're going to get an automatic longer sentence. She's gone not guilty, guilty rather, and it's too late then. She showed remorse by deleting it straight away, or someone would say she's been caught. She then puts a tweet out saying, I'm not saying no, something about don't do any violence or anything like that.
She backtracked. Harry, I will come back to you, because I want to hear from Aisha, because Aisha, I can see you're looking a bit disgusted by that.
I am. First of all, this wasn't a harmless tweet that Lucy Connolly put out. She very clearly said, she called for deportations. First of all, that language is so loaded with connotations. I mean, look at, we talk about anti-Semitism, we talk about what happened in Germany, the deportations that happened. That language, first of all, that she used was appalling. That's number one for me. And secondly, it wasn't a mindless tweet or harmless tweet, or like, oh yeah, let's throw fireworks or whatever. This was a woman calling for asylum seekers, men, women, children, in a hotel to be burnt alive, and then she actually does say, oh, if it's racist, I don't care. So she was fully aware of the language she was using, that it might cause offense, and she obviously posted her tweet, and she left it for 3.5 hours. It wasn't as though she said, oh my God, I got really angry and I did it in the heat of the moment and I'll quickly delete it. She left it for 3.5 hours.
So you think it does warrant, just to be clear on this then, so do you think it warrants that length of prison sentence, Aisha?
Well, let's be honest, Patrick, she's only going to serve 40% of that sentence, so she'll be out within a year, She'll be home in time for Christmas next year. And, you know, people are talking about it, oh, it's a very heavy sentence, but this is a grown woman, a 41-year-old, who's a registered childminder, who people trusted with their children, first of all. This is a grown woman who's married to a person, an elected Tory councillor, as you stated, who basically there's a position of authority, another position of authority right there. And she's posting stuff. Right. And not only that, Patrick, there's other stuff that's come to light with the sentencing yesterday, where she's like laughing about it, and she's basically saying, well, you know what, if I do get into trouble, I'll blame my mental health. And she's looking at ways of getting out of it. So she fully knows
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Harry, so respond to that, because one of the things there was about this idea that obviously there were children in the hotel and all of that. I mean, she does have her own children who will now not have their mum for, well, let's say roughly a year, 2 years, however long she's inside for. Yeah.
And all the kids she looked after, the parents gave good character references. What concerns me is Aisha has got very strong point on the fact the language we use. What you find is people tend to be on the left, and I don't know your political, well, you're Labour activists, aren't you? So those two words say a lot to me, actually. I'm sure you're a very nice person, but it does show you're not tolerant of any other view with regards to immigration and mass uncontrolled immigration. And it's just like the judge said. He said in his summing up, it is a strength in our society that it is both diverse and inclusive. Agree. But that's not the topic here. The topic is uncontrolled immigration. And even with the controlled immigration, 300,000 a year, we still don't know their backgrounds. And this gets a very emotional topic. And I think people, they shouldn't do it, but it should be considered that very ordinary people can have a meltdown now and then and say things they regret. And I think the really concerned thing about when she said about, I could always use my mental health, be careful, everyone here and everyone around. The days have gone where you can have a private conversation in a WhatsApp where people understand you. They know you don't mean these things. They know that you're not going to do this thing. You can't vent, because if you or somebody else has their phone seized, that can be used against you. I get that, what you're saying there. But so you're on the side, Harry, just so we're clear on this, that she should have got no prison at all. I think CPS should have stopped it. Yes, they should have. Is it in the public interest? And the amount of comments that I've had, you'll always get your few, like Aisha, that's fine, she's welcome to her comments. But the vast majority that I've seen is that this feels wrong, really wrong.
OK, Aisha, look, I'm going to give the final word to you on this. There's always a compare and contrast whenever you see these kind of things. And people, I don't like to keep carping on about him, but people like Hugh Edwards, for example, who walk free, right? Many people might think that doing what he did with those kind of images and others like him is a worse crime than what this lady did, and they've avoided prison.
You're comparing different types of fruit. I'm sorry. If you're going to compare like for like, let's talk about Abu Hamza, who got 7 years in 2006 for inciting racial hatred and violence as well. So let's look at the type of crime that we're talking about and let's compare like for like. The Hugh Edwards case has nothing to do with this case. He got a suspended sentence. Whatever the reasoning was, the legal reasoning, that was for that case. Let's talk about this case. This is a middle-class white woman who basically has been given a sentence that she's only going to serve 40% of, and people are upset about it. And Harry, I'm so sorry that you think just by looking at me and looking at my, my title as a Labour activist, you've made an assumption, you've put a label on me, and that's it. Had Lucy Connolly been an Asian woman, a Pakistani woman, a black woman, would we have these conversations? Would you have come out and defended defended her and said she
let's let him come back to that, and then we'll wrap it up.
And so on. I have no idea.
All right, let's let him come back to that, and then we'll wrap it up.
And it feels wrong. It usually is.
That was quick. OK, all right, both of you, thank you very much. Good stuff. It was a proper head-to-head, so there we go. Happy Friday, everybody. That was former police officer Harry Tanguy and Labour Party activist Aisha Ali Khan. So, coming up, a Met police officer who became an online sensation for battling against anti-lockdown protesters is now facing the sack for her alleged links to a Syrian jihadist. So, can she be trusted to keep Brits safe? Former Detective Chief Superintendent at the Met Police, Kevin Hurley, gives expert analysis. But still to come, the King and Queen have arrived down under despite all this pomp and ceremony surrounding their visit. Many Australian politicians want the royal family removed from their constitution. So could it be their final farewell? But more importantly, should the Aussies actually realise that they're blooming lucky to have them? Royal commentator Rafe Held Manku joins us very soon. Stay tuned.